One. It's time for some unconventional wisdom, and we are talking with Sarah Walls, who works with the Washington Mystics, the champion Washington Mystics,
Yes.
and the Washington Wizards. So good to see you.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you. So let's start off talking about this because this is going to be your first year with the Wizards, but you've been with the Mystics in this position.
Yes.
So let's back up and talk about, first of all, how you even got into this entire industry and this business.
Yeah, I kind of just grew up around the gym environment. My stepfather owned some, just regular, like small commercial gyms growing up.
How old are you talking about here? Like real young, like your kids young? Or
A little bit older than
Okay.
that. So, 12, 13.
Okay.
Started working, helping out in that environment when I was pretty young. And then, just pursued the field. I love it. And I got some great introductions, some great opportunities given to me.
Right. Now, so you loved it and you started out at a young age, but at some point you had to get filtered into this track, this path.
Correct.
So how did that work?
Yeah, correct. So my first strength and conditioning job was at George Mason University here locally, and I had the opportunity to work with women's basketball there, and I just jumped at the opportunity. I thought that would be a lot of fun, and it was. And I've just been super fortunate that people I've met in the field, that I've worked with, have gone on to do other things, and it's all about networking, and that's where the opportunities have come from.
And that's key. So eventually you go from there, and at some point you end up with the Mystics.
Yes.
The journey from George Mason to the Mystics.
Yes.
Because again, I know it's about connections and networking. So
Yes.
how did that happen?
Yeah, there was kind of a couple key points. Somebody that I worked with, the athletic trainer at George Mason, she ended up working for the Mystics. So there was a connection there. Another connection was I had been sort of separately introduced to two players on the team at the time who had just had babies. I had kids, and so it seemed like a good fit for me to just try to support them as they were, going from giving birth back to needing to play professional basketball. So there were connections there, and that's pretty much where the opportunity came from.
And now you got double duty. It gives you some more responsibility. Now
Yeah.
you're going to work with the Wizards as well.
Right. Correct.
This is going to be the first time you work with a professional men's team.
Yes. Yes.
Looking forward to that, obviously.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a trailblazer in that aspect when it comes to dealing with a men's team and working behind the scenes with training and fitness?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily trailblazer, but certainly I'm one of the first, and I'm absolutely the first within this organization in terms of a female having this role. So I'm extremely grateful for it. It's kind of like I pinch myself every day, working with both teams.
Right.
Truly.
Yeah. What's the best part of your job?
Oh, the best part of my job, my goodness, like there's so many, honestly. But I have fun every day. That's kind of a big rule for me. I need to find an opportunity to just have a great time, and this delivers that every day. I'm working with the top athletes in the world for both, the men's and women's side of the sport, and it's challenging, so it's all fantastic.
Now, you talked about challenging. We know about parenthood, and I got 3 kids.
Yeah. Okay.
You have 2 young
I
kids.
have 2.
That's a job within itself that, the payoff is internal.
Right.
How do you juggle all this with the 2 young kids?
Yeah. It's challenging, and it's challenging. My husband and I, really kind of have to work together to make the schedules work. I have, a pretty unusual schedule. A lot of late evenings, a lot of weekends, of course, where you're sort of missing the opportunity to help out going to practices or games or whatever.
I'm very familiar with
Yeah.
that.
So having somebody that's there to really support me and help pick up the slack when I'm not around is huge. But there's a lot of just kind of pushing forward and making the most of my time. I would say that's a big key for me, is just trying to be really efficient and productive with the time that I do have, either with the family and the kids or when I'm actually working.
Now, when you're dealing with your children at home, I know they're young right now, but is dieting and all this, is that all into your regular lifestyle along with the fitness and the
Yeah.
healthy living? Is that just part of your DNA that you're passing along to the kids as well?
I'm doing my best to pass that along. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
But they still get to eat Cheetos and cookies, though,
they
right?
definitely do. Yes, they definitely do.
How difficult is that, or how much of a challenge is that when you're healthy, your strength and conditioning? And I know because I do the same thing with the kids. I'm like, eat healthy, but here's a chocolate chip
Yeah,
cookie because
yeah.
you're a child.
Right.
So how much of a challenge is that from your perspective?
Right. So I try to teach them about balance, which I think is definitely important. We should be able to have some pizza and some cookies and stuff sometimes, but where I really try to take it is help them learn at a young age what might be too much, and maybe if we've already been to a
That's all right. You're a busy person. We understand. Go ahead.
maybe if we've already been to a birthday party in the earlier part of the day, we're going to take it easy on some cakes and cookies at night. So just trying to teach them that stuff.
Right. The work-life balance. What kind of advice would you give to other people who, not necessarily in your career field,
Yeah.
but still dealing with career,
Yeah.
young children, and being the best at whatever it is they're trying to do? What kind of advice would you give to people out there?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things for me that's big is sometimes I have to let myself off the hook for things that I simply can't get done. And that a lot of times that's work related, the kids, the family, for me take priority, and sometimes that means an email's not going to get responded to. Some of the less critical things, I will let myself off the hook for those, and I would give that advice to everybody. Like if it's not a life and death kind of thing for most of us in our work days. So understand where that line is for you and give yourself a break so that you can just shut it down and enjoy some time with your family when you do have that time.
Right. When it comes to, being a woman in I'm talking about the Wizards,
Yeah.
in a kind of a man's world,
Yeah.
not necessarily a man's world, but it's the NBA.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give to women who are aspiring? Because we're hearing about now pro football coaches who are women who are trying to succeed in who has been traditionally a man's career path or a man's job or a man's world for that matter. So what kind of advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, it's extremely competitive. I mean, we're talking about the NBA or the NFL. I mean, you have to be at least close to the peak of the game that you're bringing. And so I do consider that I've got the background, the knowledge. I'm ready for all aspects. But then you've got that factor, sort of that unknown of the gender difference. But I think certainly in the NBA, and I just know this from my experience, it's kind of ripe and ready. I mean, they are certainly the Wizards. Monumental Basketball has welcomed myself in, and we have some other females on the coaching and support staff side. They see that just the nature of women, they bring a different aspect that is valuable. There's certain nuances that we can bring to the table. So the teams are always looking for any edge. It's not just putting a female in for the sake of a female, but what can that person bring?
So it's quite, you're more than qualified for the job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I mean,
Because a lot of times people will say, "Oh, they're just doing it just because," but no, you have a resume to back up.
For sure, yeah, for sure, absolutely. The years and years, I mean, 15 years working just with elite basketball players, is sort of giving me that experience that I need. But the championship sort of pushes you over the edge. I think everybody's looking to add those winning players to their team.
Right. Give your website and your information so if people want to get in touch with you, because you run your own business
I
as
do.
well. You run
Yes,
your own
I do.
business. Give that
Yep.
information out.
Yeah, so it's Strength and Performance Training. We're located in Fairfax, and the website is saptstrength.com.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you spending time with me because I know you're a busy person. I know you got a lot between two basketball teams, and it's a lot going on. So congratulations on your success on both the Mystic side and the Wizard side and the parenting side too.
Thank you.
Because again, I know the challenges that come along with that.